Everyone, and welcome to KY Go Digital Live. My name is Dana Dowdy, and I will be leading the show for you today. I am so excited to be joined by this awesome team here at Kentucky Go Digital Live. We have Elaine Abanatha, Digital Innovation Leader for JCPS. We have Brandy New, Instructional Technology Coordinator at Hardin County Schools. Danielle Washburn, Digital Innovation Leader at JCPS. Courtney DeRosset, Field Staff at KDE. And Kathleen Receiver, Digital Innovation Leader at JCPS. Hello, everybody, and welcome everyone to Kentucky Go Digital Live. If you are joining on YouTube, be sure to check out the chat and ask any questions. We'll have Brandy over there taking those questions. Introduce yourself and tell us where you're from. If you don't have the chat capability, make sure that you log into YouTube, and while you're there, check the subscribe button, and that way you can easily follow us and continue to learn. So it is time to hear from this amazing leader we have today from Oldham County Schools, Lauren Rataj, Digital Learning Coach. Great to have you on the show today, Lauren.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Make sure I'm not unmuted, or I am unmuted.
You're good.
Okay.
All right. So whenever you're ready, Lauren, let's learn about InsertLearning, and it's all you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dana, for that introduction. Like she said, my name is Lauren Rataj, and I am a digital learning coach in Oldham County. Today, we're going to learn about the InsertLearning extension for Chrome. And so I'm really excited to share this with you. I've used it probably for a little over a year now. So it's kind of one of my tried and true resources, my go-to tools I like to use. But also now I see how it could really instructionally support teachers on these days with NTI. So I'm excited to showcase it with you. And then we'll talk a little bit about what is InsertLearning, how you can get started. I'll show you a few of the tools, and then we'll actually get on InsertLearning together. And I hope that you can pull it up in your browser and follow along with me and go ahead and start creating your classes and getting started with your first lesson today. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So just bear with me for just a minute. Get my slides up. Here we go. Are you able to see my slides here?
Yes.
Thank you. All righty. Apologize, it's taking a minute to load. Let's see. One of the wonderful things about living out in the country is your internet access is not as up to par as when you're in town, but it is beautiful. All right, here we go. So let's look at, so I've already introduced myself, but let's look at InsertLearning. Like I mentioned, it is a Chrome extension. So this is something I've had great success with using with Chromebooks mostly, and then also you can use on a desktop or a laptop in that Chrome browser. So let's look at, well, what is InsertLearning? It is specifically a tool, like I said, it's a Chrome extension that allows you to actually augment the internet or websites and make them your own living lessons. And as their little icon says down there, you can transform any web page into an interactive lesson, and we'll talk about each of these tools here in a minute. You can insert questions, videos, embed, you can app smash all within one place. And so that's kind of the beauty of InsertLearning. Let's look at, well, who created it and why did they kind of create it? Just like us as educators, they found themselves overwhelmed by the amount of time at times it takes to create those online interactive lessons. But they, at the same time, saw the power in creating those learning opportunities for their students. And so from this, they went ahead and they created InsertLearning, and they are really excited that we are wanting to use this within education. So how does InsertLearning support students in general? Yes, it's a great tool, but the power behind it is not just how easily it is to use, but instead kind of looking at how it can support your kids. So let's kind of look a little bit into each of these and how they can support all learners and all of their needs. The first way is it helps to differentiate for every student. It allows you to have the ability to add your own content. So if you're just looking at a web page, usually you just get what's there already from the creator. But with Insert Learning, you can add additional text. And as you can kind of see here, you can add in your own little post-it notes with additional information for your students. You can add in videos to support all of their needs. Sometimes students learn best by watching media, as well as adding links or embedding other apps as well. And so that really helps to meet all of our learners' needs. The next way is it helps to have a voice, just kind of runs through Flipgrid, having that voice and empowering our students. All within that web page, you can insert and embed discussions, so they don't have to go outside of that web page. It's all locked down into one place. Also, though, it allows them the ability to annotate. And so in real time, so they can actually go and pick up annotation tools like a highlighter or even add comments. And so it gives them a voice there on that web page on their own and really just helps them to think deeply about the text. The next way is it helps to engage all of your readers. I love the way that you can app smash and push in and embed other tools all within Insert Learning. Because a lot of times it kind of reminds me of how we could take a HyperDoc, but putting it all within Insert Learning. So we're sending our students to one place. Although they can engage with the text, which is meaningful, they can maybe watch a video, but yet they could participate in a Flipgrid. I even have a tool down here. This is Jamboard. They could all participate in an interactive whiteboard to solve a problem, but all within that one place. And so that helps to really engage all of our students and meet their needs. The next way that Insert Learning helps to support our students is that real-time assessment and intervention. So if you were in a blended learning environment, so if you were using this tool within your classroom, you could be walking around the room and monitor your student responses and their annotations in real time. As you can see here in this icon, and we'll look at this tool in a minute, when you're looking at the web page or the lesson you've created, you then get your students up here in the corner, and it allows you to choose your student's name, and you can view just their web page. And what that lets you do is it lets you look at their responses to any questions in real time, as well as though if they are highlighting, as it shows here, any of the text to determine importance or to ask a question, you can see that as well. And so that you get that immediate feedback. And we know how important feedback is. According to Hattie's research, feedback is one of those top 10 influences on student achievement with that effect size of 0.73. And so Insert Learning really allows you to give that real-time feedback and support all of your learners. Now with NTI days in that flipped classroom setting, what's great about it is students can still get on. They'll be able to access these lessons and respond at what time is best for them. But you could also, if they were responding at the same time that you're on, you could see it in real time. But you can also get on later and you can view their questions that they might have for you. You can view their responses or the discussion that you've created. But the power behind it is that feedback. And so that's why I absolutely love Insert Learning. Another component of Insert Learning is that you can take authentic resources. So we have kind of those tried and true also resources that I know teachers go to. And you can use those primary resources to then take and embed your own content. And so I think that that's really powerful as well. You'll have this slide deck later, but if you go to this link later, you can click on and see some of those free paid text and paid text as well that you could use as activity builders to go ahead and create your lessons. One that I like using a lot with teachers is this, I don't know, some people like to pronounce it as Newsela. I've heard Newsela. So however you pronounce it, that's one of our resources that we're going to look at today and how you can take that and then also build upon it and make that content even better and bring it to life for your students. So getting started. Although I have more slides for you to access later, I would rather us do this in real time and looking at my screen. And so let's do that right now together. So if you are joining in and you want to get started with me, go ahead and open up a brand new tab. And if you will go to InsertLearning.com, and I'm going to exit out of this. So if you'll go to InsertLearning.com and go ahead and add that extension. So click that add to Chrome, and I'll give you a few seconds to do that.
Lauren, I love that you are letting people go through this with you and you're going to walk us through this. I have never heard of InsertLearning before, and some of the people in the chat had not either. So I'm excited to look at this, and I love some of the free programs that you referenced, and to be able to expand upon that. I'm really, really excited, and I appreciate you sharing this and letting us walk through it with you.
Yeah, thank you. And also, please let me know. I don't have the chat up, so let me know if there are any questions. I'm very flexible. So at any moment, if anyone has a question, I can stop and answer and model that for you. I'd love to do that as well. So just keep those questions or comments going in that chat, and they'll let me know as well. So hopefully you have had a few moments now to go to InsertLearning.com. And like I said, you can add to Chrome, and like it says, it's free. It is one of those freemium extensions where teachers can have 5 lessons at a time. But you'll notice when I log in that it's going to show you that I actually have more than 5 lessons. And the reason and the way I've been able to do that is because I do work with teachers as a digital learning coach. And so at first I'll create the lessons, and I'll show you this. You can share them with teachers, but then I'll gradual release and have those teachers create lessons and just add me as a co-teacher, which allows me to have additional lessons. Also though, after you have 5, and they are totally for this. I even emailed them a few days ago just to kind of check on the status, if they would be opening this up to unlimited lessons, kind of like the rest of our digital tools have done. And they said, at this time we're not, but it's only because when you hit 5, we even suggested ourselves, delete the first one you created after you have your student data off of it, and keep on creating. And so that's what I've done as well. Is it's not a tool you use every day anyways. It's something you might use once a week. And so once you're hitting your 5 limit, go ahead and just go back and delete that first lesson that you created after you have all of your data off of it, or all the point values, and keep on creating. So I really don't see the need to upgrade and purchase an additional license for that. So now that I'm here, also I've done a lot of talking, so hopefully you've been able to add it as well. I'm going to go up here to log in so that you can see my dashboard. The first thing I'd like to walk us through is kind of looking at the different tabs in your teacher dashboard here. Also, you've probably noticed if you've downloaded it that it's really seamless to use with your single sign-in. I'm on a Chromebook, so when I click on it, it knows I'm logged in, and it actually doesn't even though it says sign in here in a minute, it'll just populate my account for me. So I do love that feature as well. So as you can see, here is my teacher dashboard. Some things to note here at the top, and we'll go through each of these tabs here in a moment. Your lessons, those are the actual InsertLearning lessons or web pages that you've kind of transformed and made them your own. There's a grades tab that you can use. That's optional. You can use it if you'd like to do that, but I know many of us use other learning management systems for grading, so it's something that's kind of there if you want to use it. Your classes are your actual classes of students where you can assign those lessons to. The public library is their database that has free lessons already created that you can browse and see if they're a good fit for you, and then you can make a copy of them. And then resources is kind of like their helpful information to help you get started. So I know that we're going to talk about a lot today, and so it will be a great tab to go to in the future to kind of refresh your memory as well on how to use it. So let's get started with classes because you should create a class first before creating a lesson, so that then you can actually assign that lesson. So let's go here to that classes tab. Like I said, you'll notice I'm a part of a lot of classes when I'm working with different teachers within coaching cycles, and it will show them all there, as well as a demo class. And so InsertLearning did give me access to a demo class so that I can show you some student data and what that looks like here in a moment without breaching confidentiality with students in Oldham County. So when creating classes, you have 2 options. The first is if you are a Google Classroom user, I highly recommend just importing your kids from Google Classroom. It takes seconds, they're imported, they're all in, and then when they go to InsertLearning.com and they download it, it automatically knows they're in your class and they're ready to get started. So it's very easy to use. That is how I prefer to use it with my coaching cycle candidates. The second way though is if you don't have Google Classroom, that's fine. You can actually create one on your own and manually add your students with a code. So let's get started. So when I click new class, it gives me two options, because even as a teacher, just like Google Classroom, I can create the class, but I can also enroll in one. So here in a moment, after I create a demo class, you could enroll in mine if you want to see that student view as well. So let's go to create a class and look at those two options. You can either import it, like I said here, from Google Classroom, and it'll just take a second. And since it recognizes I'm logged in, now it shows me all of my classes that I'm a part of that I could choose and import instantly. So that's really nice. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to call this test KY go digital and say create. So I'm going to show you that second option of creating it manually, and it probably populated, yep, down here. And so after you have created, so like I said, you can upload with Google Classroom and the students will just populate. So it would just already say here, if you tried that, how many students that you already have in your class from Google Classroom. And then now the manual way, like I just did, all you have to do is click those binoculars and you can show that up there on your screen for students so that they can join. Also though, it's helpful to know that, because let's say right now I import my Google Classroom, but then I have a new student come join me here in a few weeks. All I have to do is give them this code and they can also join as well as we go. So you also might use that manual code for new students within your class as well. So once I'm there, now let's go ahead and let's look at our classroom management. And so in my dashboard, if I'm looking at my classes, this, I like to call this the skinny snowman. You just have a few basic options with your classes. You can invite a co-teacher, which I love. I love that when I'm in a coaching cycle, we can be a part of classes together. But I know we also have a lot of supports that come into our classrooms. So if you have maybe an ECE teacher that comes in to support you, you could add them. Maybe if you had a teammate that you just you will switch classes, you could invite them or someone in your department. Maybe if you have a mentor teacher in your building, you could add them. So you can add and invite those co-teachers so they can see your student data and also give your kids feedback as well, because we know how important that is. The edit info button just lets you change the name of your class. So not a lot there with that. And last but not least, if you're finished with that class, you can delete it, but you do have an unlimited amount of classes as well. And so that really helps, because even though you're limited to 5 lessons, you could have, if you're a teacher, especially if you teach multiple classes or sections a day, you can assign that same lesson to all your different classes though. So don't let that 5 lesson limit get you, that you're thinking, oh goodness, I can only have 5 lessons and I already have 6 sections a day. Well, you can assign 1 lesson though to as many classes as you want. And so that would be that workaround there as well. So let's look at now some of our other tabs. So now hopefully you have a class created, whether you imported it from Google or you just quickly manually created it and named it. And now you can give your students at a future time that code. Also though, if you want to, go ahead and join me. You could do that as well. If you want to join and go to that 4SZ3MH, or take a picture with your phone real quick or a screenshot if you want to remember that for later. I can assign a lesson later for you to see it as well. So let's look at some other tabs. Like I mentioned, up here, resources, if you click that, it will help you to find some content. So when you're ready to get started, you could come to this find content and view sources, and they're giving you, they filtered out automatically some really great databases that have great text for you already. And so these are what they recommend to go ahead and get started if you want. You have tools to embed. And so this is just giving you some ideas to app smash once you get started. Well, you know, what is interactive that you could put there within your lesson? And they've got some great tools to embed and ideas there as well. And then their help center, just like any help center, it helps you to quickly ask them a question and then they'll respond to you. Well, there might already be some answers there for you, but they also can respond to you as well. And when I had that question, they got back to me, I think within 3 minutes, about my question on limiting lessons, and maybe if they'll open that up. And so they're very responsive. The public library, yes.
Sorry, this is Brandy. We've got a question over in the chat, and I thought I'd go ahead and ask it now. Adam Watson wants to know, when you delete the old lesson, does it delete the student data and the answers with them?
It does. And so that is something we need to take into consideration, that once that lesson is deleted, the data does leave with it. So I would go ahead and, if you are using this as summative, like a summative assessment, then you might want to pull those grades off of it ahead of time before deleting. But if it's just a formative assessment and you were just using it to check in on your kids, to kind of gauge their understanding for that day, to plan next steps, then I don't see kind of why you would really need that data. So it kind of depends on your purpose. So yes, Adam, great question. Do not delete until you're sure that you don't need that data anymore. So back to our resources, our public library here. This will take you out to their actual free database of lessons already generated by other teachers around the world. And so when you go there, you'll notice you can filter it as well. There we go. By subject area, grade level. If you've noticed a specific person that you really have enjoyed their lessons, you can actually filter by their name. So you can do that as well. And just a little plug about that. Once you get a lesson, whether that's a lesson from the public library already created for you, or shared from another teacher that you are familiar with, when you make that copy, it does not pull their student data with it. And so it is a fresh lesson without their students tied to it. And what's even great about it is not only can you use their lesson, but you can also go ahead and add or take away things. Because I know sometimes we find resources and we think, oh, this is great, but I wish I could add this to make it more engaging, or I wish I could take that away. That's really not relevant to me or my content. And so once you make that copy, it's yours to keep in your library lesson, and you can do whatever you want with it. So just a little plug about that. Also within, let's go to the next tab. Okay, let's go to lessons. And so I think we're ready to get started. I'd like to show you creating lessons on your own. Yes, you can take from other great educators out there, but I'll be honest, I've looked and browsed, but it doesn't ever really seem to fit my needs or my teacher's needs that I'm collaborating with exactly. And I kind of just like to create them on my own, depending on our guided question or the needs and abilities of the students in the class I'm working with. And so let's work on creating an InsertLearning lesson on your own from scratch. And so you can see kind of how easy it is. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about using an existing site. So that is one way you can create a lesson. You go to a website and then you take that site and you can manipulate it. Like I said, you add questions, you can add your own thinking on Post-it notes, you can add videos, you can embed all sorts of tools. But also I have, and you'll notice when you kind of look at mine, in this lesson, I did use Generation Genius and I enhanced it. But on this one, I actually made a Google site first, just very basic, and then I went back and I embedded it. You can also use a published doc or a PDF. And so it doesn't always have to just look like a website. You can use other resources as well. And so to create a new lesson, it's very simple. I have pulled up already, for time's sake, Newsela. And I already have an article that I would like to use. And so how it works is you find the website. Like I said, it could be a site from a tried and true database already, like Newsela. It could be something like historychannel.com. It could be just a published doc or a PDF. But wherever you want to create your lesson from, you have to be looking at it. Once you're looking at it, you activate your InsertLearning extension up here. And so you'll notice I like this article on adaptations for my students, but I just feel like I could have more. I would like to embed additional questions or discussions or additional information to help support all my needs for my learners. So all I have to do is click on that extension and it will process it. And then you'll notice over here in just a second, and I promise this works quicker when I'm usually in the school setting, not at my home with my internet. It'll say loading, and then my teacher toolbar will come up here over here on the left. Another great thing is once I activate InsertLearning, it's saving automatically to my actual teacher dashboard. So some of you might be wondering, well, where is this going? How do I know it is there? So now it says loaded. And it sunk with my Google account, and so it knows who I am. And now I have my teacher tools over here. My teacher tools consist of, as you hover over them, you can highlight the text, and when you highlight it. You can change a few colors. We'll look at that here in a minute, and also add comments. You can add what they call a sticky note. And the sticky note is not just an actual Post-it note that you can add information to, but it does more. It actually also lets you embed videos and other content within it. So it seamlessly, like a Google form, if you want to also have another way to formatively assess your students. You can ask a question, and that will just show you an individual student's responses. If you insert a question, those can be short answer or multiple choice, and we'll dig into those in a minute, as well as the last option is inserting a discussion. And that would allow all students in your class to be a part of that discussion and see each other's responses in real time. And so let's get started here. I want to start with kind of the basic annotation tool, so that highlighter. Let's say as a teacher, I really want my students to pay attention to, or maybe I want to define a word. So let me come down here, and maybe I want to define the word mutation for them. All right, let me click on the highlighter. First, you have to click on the tool first. There we go. And as you can see now I am highlighting. Maybe I want them to pay attention to this. So whatever I do on my teacher dashboard and lesson is what every single student will see. And so as you can see here, I can change the color. So if maybe I want to put all the vocabulary words in green, I could do that, or things I want them to pay attention to in blue. So you can change it from there. So just a few colors they have there, as well as you can kind of add a comment. That comment could be like defining a word. You could say something like, I really want you to pay attention to this. This will come back up, or remember our discussion about this. And so here I could say mutations are ... I could define it for them. And so when they hover over that word, it defines it for them right there within the text. So that could be helpful. So that is the highlighter tool. You can highlight in different colors. And then, like I said, you can also add a comment to it. The sticky note, another one of my very favorite things is the sticky note, because yes, it lets you add text, but it allows you to add videos, images, and many, many more things. Embed things. It's kind of, the power of it is as far as your imagination can go. And I'm sure you can even put GIFs in there as well. So to kind of pull your readers in. Something I like to do in my lessons is I like to put a sticky note at the top. And when I so you click on the sticky note, and then as you move over, as you can see, it's saying, well, where do you want that sticky note? I think I want it right here up top. So when I click, it prompts you. You can paste in a YouTube video. You can embed a code from somewhere else to also put those other things in. But my very favorite thing about these sticky notes is this video feature. I have access to this, but also students can do this as well, because sometimes our students they're better supported with hearing us. They're auditory learners instead of being able to read it. So something I like to do in my lessons is I like to have put our guided question up top and say, maybe what is that could be your I can statement. You could put a standard, whatever you want to do. What is an adaptation, and how do animals use them to survive? Maybe. Sorry, it's coming. So I could type it in, but also if I click on this little video button, it's going to, it might ask you the very first time for allowing access, but it will pop me up here. And I can, right here within InsertLearning in this webpage, create a video of myself. There I am. Hello, everybody again. Reading, and I like to just introduce the article that they're about to read, or the website, and our purpose for learning that day. And so all you have to do is, when you're ready, you click the record button. I can say, hello, scientists. Today you're going to read about adaptations. Your guided question today is, what is an adaptation, and how do animals how do adaptations help animals to survive? And you push that stop button, and you can and use it. Hello, science. Today you're going to read about adaptations. Your guided question today is, what is an adaptation, and how do adaptations help animals to survive? I promise, I guess it's because maybe I'm on live. I'm recording in multiple places right now. But all you usually do is click this use video. And what's wonderful about it is it pops up right here in this Post-it note for students to use. And so I've really found that helps meet the needs of all learners. They can watch me. Also, they feel like they have that, especially this time of NTI, they'll really feel like they have you there within their living room or their bedroom, kind of coaching them along their learning. And so I think that would be a great way to continue building those relationships and making kids feel comfortable during this time as well. So that is the sticky note. Also within sticky notes, something else I'd like to show you is how to quickly embed a video. So maybe after students read about adaptations, maybe I think, that text was a little difficult. Maybe a video would help to support them as well. I want to show you how easy it is to, so I'm click the sticky note, I chose where I wanted it, and now I could embed a YouTube video. And just like anytime we post or watch a video, make sure that you are giving rights to that person, but as well as viewing that video to make sure it's appropriate. And so I'm going to copy it. So I went to that share button and copy it. All you need is the link. And once you get that link to the video, it could be something from your drive, anything that you want to put in here. And I paste it in. Now, that video is embedded right there within the lesson for students to view without going outside of Newsella, and so, or this actual lesson. And so that's really helpful as well, especially as we think about those NTI days. We don't want students to get caught up maybe up on YouTube as well. And so that is a really nice feature as well. So that's sticky notes. Like I said, sticky notes, you can put text in, so you could type in it. You could have a link to go to another web page if you wanted to. You could put a video in of yourself like I just did and embed it. You could put a video in from an outside source. You could put in images. So many things you can do. As well as, one more thing I'd like to show you is embedding. So I talked about you could app smash. So also within that sticky note, let's say at the very end, I want them to reflect on their learning maybe within a Flipgrid. So maybe down here, after reading about adaptations, that sticky note, here it goes again. It's amazing. An example I wanted to show you is Flipgrid. So I could go to my Flipgrid account as a teacher. I'm going to go to my test grid account. And let's say I wanted students to maybe reflect and post about their thinking on adaptations afterwards. So once you have your wall created and you go to that share button, Flipgrid actually, when you click share, has that embed code right here for you. So if you click copy embed code, I'm going to click it a few times just to make sure I really got it. And then now if I paste it in here, so just another way to use sticky notes. Look at that. Your Flipgrid will live right here within this lesson as well for students to be able to click on and enter. There it is. So just another awesome way to use the sticky note feature there with InsertLearning. The next tool down here that I'd like to show you is inserting a question. And so let's say at the very end, so they're reflecting, but maybe I want to check their understanding down here. So when you click insert question, same thing, you have to choose and show it. Well, where do you want that question to be? So when you click, the question will pop right below it. You have a few options for questions. First, it automatically pops up as a short answer question, but you can change that to a multiple choice as well. And so let's say, what is the main idea of this paragraph? That is maybe my question. Here it comes, hopefully. There we go. You can, what I really like about it is they also give you as a teacher some question stems. So if maybe you're not sure what to ask, there's some question stems there for you as well. You can change, this is where the grading comes in, the point value right here within the question. So I have not been using it for grading, just more of that formative assessment. So I'm going to put it as 0 points, but you can change that to what you want. And when I click off of it, and I then say create, it automatically puts that question there within my lesson for students to view. And you'll now notice there's another option. It says type here, turn this into a multiple choice question. So that's another option. If you want it to be multiple choice, now that I'm on the teacher view, all I have to do is type a response. So maybe if I want to say, I need to think of options. So how adaptations help animals to survive. Let's see, that's an option for a multiple choice question. So you just start typing the different options. And here it comes, I promise. It's saving, and it's going to, you'll see here in just a second, it will start populating those responses. There we go. And then I could add another choice. And so maybe I could say what I ate Or lunch is another option. That is definitely not the main idea of that paragraph. And as you keep going, you can add as many choices as you want. And then it's important, though, that if you are using this as a grading feature, that you check off what the appropriate response is so that it will automatically grade it for you. So that is very helpful. I'm going to edit this. And so also something to keep in mind, I'm sure this might be a question you have when you're on the student view, which we'll look at here in a moment. Their responses save automatically as they work, which is really nice. So that there's no clicking saving or clicking submitting as you can actually watch them type in their responses in real time as well. So that's really helpful. The last option down here is the discussion. And so that's great to kind of keep student thinking going and giving them that voice during our NTI days. So when you click on it, all you have to do is say where you want it to be embedded afterwards. And you can say, how is your going? I know you would ask a more in-depth question than that. And click create, and it will naturally embed that question right there. And then you get options too for how many classes you want involved in that discussion as well. And click post. And so students would now see that within that lesson. Ta-da. It should be done. There it is. Oh yeah, go ahead.
We have another question just while we're waiting, if that's okay.
Yes,
Do you know, do the grades integrate to Google Classroom? Sorry, I got stuck.
That is a great question. Let's go to the grading tab here in just a second. I'm going to be honest with you, not only because my role as a digital learning coach, not an assessor of student work within a classroom, but at the same time, I've pretty much used this mostly with elementary, and so they have not really used the grading as much. We've used it as a tool for students to learn and then just formatively assess them. So that is a good question that we'll have to kind of dig into here in a minute back in our teacher dashboard, because that would be great, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking no is the answer right now. But let's see. So let's go back to, so those are the basic tools and features. And you can always get back to your dashboard from here, that more options, and go to dashboard as well. So let's go to back to our dashboard. Oops, I think I have it open twice now. That's okay. So here, I'd like to show you that it should populate as, and we should be able to see at the very top that lesson we just created live together. There it is, New ZLA on adaptations. Perfect, it's there for me. Let's look at, before, I don't want to move on, let's look at the grades section. Okay, so here you can filter it, like I said, by what class you have. You can select a lesson, but I'm not seeing anywhere. So let's go to my demo class, because that would be okay. You can download it as a CSV file. So I would imagine if you can get that and then take that CSV file and re-upload it to your particular platform, then I think that would work as well. So maybe you could help me out by playing with that and letting us all know as a group how that works, and if you are able to integrate it with different platforms like the Google Classroom. So sorry, I don't have an exact answer, but I can also research that as well.
No, you're fine. I had previously used it the exact same way you were talking about with elementary, so it really wasn't that much of an issue. We were just wondering because somebody asked in the chat. So no, I appreciate you looking over for us. Thanks.
Yeah, and I completely understand, and we want to work smarter, not harder. So that integration would be great. And maybe if I cannot find it, I could reach back out to Matt with InsertLearning and see if that's something that they might provide in the future.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's look at, now that we have a lesson created, how do we assign that? And as I'm sure you can see right here in my dashboard, it's pretty easy to do. It's kind of jarring right out here at me. You go to that assign button, and it allows you can either choose the class and just assign it to them. And then when they get on their student dashboard, they'll see that they have lessons. So let me show you down here. I was actually a student within Miss Wolf's test class. And as you can see, I marked it as done. And so it will show up for them in their dashboard like that. And they can just click on it and get started. Or like we talked about, there is integration with Google Classroom. So you could click on this and it will literally take you, and I'll show you how that works. And it'll let you choose which Google Classroom and even let you schedule it. So it could pop up as an assignment in Google Classroom. If you were someone who uses Microsoft Teams, it will let you integrate it there, as well as if you just want to share the link. And so you can copy the link of your lesson and share that with students. And as long as they're part of your class and your roster and they've signed up, then they're able to complete that and you can see it. And so it's very easy to, after you've created that lesson, to assign it to classes. And like I said, you can also assign it to multiple classes as well. So you're using one lesson, but you could be using it all day in your different sections if you wanted to. Let's look at student data. So you might be wondering, okay, now that I've created a lesson, maybe students have taken it, what would that look like? And so let me come down to, they were wonderful and added me to their demo class so that I could show some student data and how it kind of works. So here, let's look at this one that they've created. They actually used a Google Doc and published it and then turned it into an InsertLearning lesson. And so when you're looking at the lesson, after students have started accessing it and started actually responding, all of a sudden up here at the top, you're going to get a little student view. I like that they like to make sure that I am the correct person I say I am all the time. That's great for confidentiality, making sure I have the rights and for access. There we go. So now it loaded. Like I said, this is a lesson made by InsertLearning. I did not create this one, but it'll help me with showing student data that's not confidential. And as you can see, they had a post-it note as well. They put a video in up top, and it looks like he even embedded himself as well. But the power is right up here, that new student annotations. When I click there, now that students are in my class and I've assigned it, I can actually go and click and I can see individual student data. And so if I click on these students, I can see what they have done. And so right now I'm on Adrian Isaacs, that fake child. I'm on his or her actual InsertLearning lesson. And so I could see now look, all of a sudden this child has highlighted what they thought was important to them. And so you can see what they've highlighted, that you can see their comments individually. You can see if they have a question. Let's see if there's any questions in this one. You could see that as well. There we go. Looks like that student did not answer the question yet, but I could click on the view all responses. So another view you can also have is when you go look at the questions, you can say view all students and you could see them in one place as well. So you can look at individual students, but you could look at your whole class at a time as well. I know that's probably a little bit more efficient for giving them feedback or grading it as well. And so as you can see, the student said the dolphin one. And so it would be nice if I could give the student, can you be more specific, question mark. Tell me more. And so that student would see this in real time as well. And all I have to do is start typing and it's literally saving it and showing that student that feedback that I've given them. You can change, like I said, the point value over here as well. And so very, very powerful. So that's what it looks like from the teacher view looking on to the students. So two ways, remember, you can look at individual student data and look at just what they've highlighted or annotated, or they can even add their own sticky note. I had a student just, I guess that's been 2 weeks now. 2 weeks ago, they said, you know, Ms. Rataj, I really don't prefer to respond with text. Can I instead answer your question with a sticky note and a video? And I said, absolutely. And I was able to go to their individual InsertLearning lesson page, and I was able to watch her video of her responding instead because that's the way she wanted to. And I still was able to get the same data that I would have gotten if she had typed it out. And actually it was probably more powerful because that's the way that she responded best. And so that was really awesome to see students being able to meet their needs, but also them feeling powerful and having their voices heard within the lesson. So that is the student view. Trying to think of anything else I'd like to share with you. Let me go back to the more, here we go. Oh, so now that I'm on here, one thing I also did want to show you is that, I guess I call this the laying down snowman now. Once you have that, you're on the lesson, you can also get additional options like share with teachers here, but I love this view as a student because sometimes when we're creating, I'll go back to my Uzella one. Sometimes when we're creating a lesson, we always think about, I see the teacher view, but what are my kids going to see? Is that going to make sense to them? And so you can go to this view as a student, and it will open it up on the student view so that you can see. There we go. So here's the student view. And also notice now, since I'm in student view, this is what the students get in their toolbar. They get the annotation tool to highlight the text and to comment and to change the colors. And they also get the sticky note. So they can still add their thinking, add a video, but they do not get to add questions for the class to respond to or a discussion. And so you can see what it looks like for your kids to make sure that's the best fit. So like you can see what it looks like for the multiple choice. You can see what the flip grid looked like, as well as the video that you embedded in all of your important vocabulary words. And then when you're done, you just go back to this resume teacher view, and it takes you back to your toolbar to continue editing.
Lauren, I have a quick question. So since if I create my lesson with maybe a Google Doc that I've used and I published it, and then I need to go back and fix that Google Doc, is it still interactive with something that I've gone back and edited?
So what I figured out, I have not done that with Docs, but I've done it with Google Sites. And so I'm assuming they work the same way when you publish something in Google. Once I created my site and I published it, I took that, I got on what I'm viewing. So you would take the published doc and you would start working InsertLearning on top of it. And then all of a sudden I noticed, I had a typo accidentally in my site. So I wanted to go back and fix that, but I was afraid the same way that now my InsertLearning lesson, I'm gonna have to delete and redo. No, that was not true. It did make those changes. So I went back to my site. So you would just go back to your doc, you would fix that spelling or add more content, republish it. And after I republished it, then I was able to see that change back on InsertLearning and continue working. And so that was really helpful. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question?
Yes, that's an awesome feature so that you don't have to redo your whole lesson. That's great.
Yes, because as we know, our work is never done. We always want to add something and tweak it or change it or refine things. And so I love that it's adaptive in that way. So I think at this point, though, we've kind of gone over the teacher dashboard, the student view. We've created one together. Like I said, I have all of those in slides here, but I showed you in real time instead, so we can post that slide deck so you have that tutorial at a later time. I also have some additional resources here, so if you want to go back on that slide as well and look at. But if not, if anyone has any additional questions at this time, I'd love to answer any of those, or even if you want to in the chat and they can talk to us about it. Anyways, you can see this being used here in the next few weeks with NTI. Anyone have any ideas?
I'm just wanting to make sure that all teachers, especially our advanced teachers that are already digitally agile, know about this tool so that they don't, so that they could even take their lessons a little bit further. But I mean, you could really translate this to anything. Even, I mean, it's huge. It's great.
Yeah, that's what I really love about InsertLearning is I feel like any grade level, any content area, I mean, the possibilities are endless. It just depends on you using your imagination and how you can take it and embed tools and start small. That's the first way I started as well. Just use the tools that are there. Just put a sticky note in and type a comment or put your video of you introducing what they're about to read, and then just use the question feature. I did not open up the discussion feature with students until I think the second time around to see how they reacted first, just responding to a question, to see if then they were able to do a discussion. And then later, after a lesson or two, start embedding other tools. But, just get your feet wet and get started and try it. And also get feedback from your students. Do they like it? Do they enjoy learning in that way? To see if it's impactful for them.
Lauren, I love that advice. You always have to start small. You don't need to overwhelm yourself. And so get comfortable with it and then start adding in elements. And especially those embedded tools. I mean, those are tools that we've talked about this past week on our live shows. Like I saw Edpuzzle. Like you can use those things within InsertLearning, which I think is phenomenal. It's awesome.
Well, I just got an idea. So a lot of some school districts are worried about getting their teachers getting their PD. And so if we were going to say for a Kentucky Go Digital video, you could use that as a PD, then we could insert some learning into that. And then that way you would make sure that they're learning that tool from a student perspective, InsertLearning tool, and then that you're getting proof that they have, that they've done that. Which then brings up another question I have. I have so many questions. Can you schedule, I guess you could schedule it on the Google Classroom. So to know that it was after hours, as far as after an hours that they're supposed to do their PD.
Yes, that would be a feature is once you assign it, if you're just in the dashboard, the students automatically see it. But if you go through the Google Classroom, that little calendar at the bottom, then yep, you can schedule it for the time you want it to post.
And think about the modeling, like Elaine, what you were talking about. If you have, I'm thinking district level, if you are thinking about your principals and modeling that for your staff, I watched Nelson County's Community Brew, I think it was yesterday morning, with Brooke Whitlow, and she was showing Seth Godin. They said that they were supposed to watch a TED Talk, and I'm thinking for the people that may have not been able to join at that hour, if that was in some kind of format to where they could use InsertLearning, then everyone could participate and be fed. Because right now teachers are in a unique situation that we are feeding all the kids. But I'm thinking leadership. If you have principals or superintendents or district level, if you could send this out, model the use of the tool, but you're also feeding your people some motivation, and if you can squeeze in PD. I know, Elaine, we were just talking about that. So this is, I've never heard of this. So Lauren, thank you for sharing. This is really, really, really good stuff.
And that's what I was going to say too, Lauren, is thank you for sharing this. I believe that I've heard of it one time ago, but you really thoroughly went through the tool, and now I am ready to share it with my teachers. So thank you.
Yes, so you have done a phenomenal job. So, I mean, I think anybody now can confidently use InsertLearning because you have gone through and shared every single little bit. And I mean, I feel even better than I did before about InsertLearning. So thank you so much. And I know teachers are going to really appreciate the job you've done today. If there's not any more questions, we're going to close out for today. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing with us. And Courtney, would you like to share how everyone can get continued support and stay connected to Kentucky Go Digital?
Of course. First of all, if you're joining us, YouTube is where our channel is, kygodigital.com, and you can subscribe and get the updates for when we have episodes coming up. Also on Facebook, and of course the hashtag Kentucky Go Digital. Our next show is tomorrow, and we want to make sure that we thank Lauren, though, for sharing. I know we've all kind of oohed and awed, but we really do appreciate your time and taking the time to walk us through InsertLearning. And then for those of you that are interested on learning another tool, tomorrow, Thursday, March 26th at 1 o'clock, we have Heidi Nettler, and she is going to be going over the digital learning interactive notebooks. She is a digital learning coach with Fort Thomas Independent Schools. And if you are interested in learning about interactive notebooks, please tune in tomorrow. Connect with us. Anytime you do something, connect to the hashtag KYGoDigital. We are also showcasing the hashtag MyNTIKentucky in support of this NTI series. And just don't forget to connect with us. And thank you for joining us.